Nightfall on the prehistoric savanna was not a gentle fading of light, but an alarm that echoed through every heartbeat. As the sun slipped below the horizon, early Homo habilis huddled together, knowing the darkness shifted power to the hunters that ruled it. Distant roars rolled across the grass, glowing eyes drifted between trees, and heavy paws snapped twigs that warned of approaching danger. With no fire, no strong shelters, and no real weapons, humans could only cling to one another and stay awake. Their bare skin, slow bodies, and weak jaws offered little protection. Survival meant enduring a world built for creatures far stronger than themselves in those nights. 2.5 million years ago, humanity existed as scattered bands clinging to survival on the African plains. They lived by scavenging leftovers from stronger predators, shaping crude stone flakes, and relying on instinctive cooperation to stay alive. But nights were their greatest torment. Storms battered their flimsy shelters, predators prowled the darkness, and even the cold wind felt like another enemy. Under a fallen tree, a small group huddled close, speaking only in gestures and soft grunts. Their fear was ancient, carved by generations of attacks and narrow escapes. Each night endured felt like a fleeting victory, yet every sunset renewed the same dread in a world that barely tolerated them at all. The storm gathered quickly, turning the sky into a churning wall of darkness as winds howled across the plains. Thunder rolled so violently it seemed to shake the earth beneath the small band of humans, yet they had nowhere to run. Then a blinding flash tore open the heavens and struck a nearby tree. Flames exploded upward, deafening. The humans froze, convinced death had arrived, but something unexpected followed. Predators fled in confusion. The crackling fire glowed with danger and possibility, casting light no eyes had ever known. Fear wrestled with curiosity as they edged closer, sensing this force might hold power, not only destruction. As the storm drifted away, a heavy stillness settled over the scorched clearing. The wild flames that had roared moments earlier now softened into glowing embers, breathing gently in the darkness. Tension held the small band in place until one hominin, trembling yet drawn forward, stepped toward the fading fire. Rain and sweat mingled on their skin as they lifted a fallen branch and reached out. When the tip caught flame, a shock ran through the group. Heat brushed their faces, shadows flickered like living spirits, and something new stirred within them. For the first time, a human chose to engage with fire, turning fear into courage and curiosity into the beginning of mastery over nature itself at last revealed. Inside a dim cave, a tiny fire glows at the center, cradled by stones, as if it were a fragile treasure. Around 1 million years ago, Homo erectus no longer meets fire only through storms or chance. They have begun learning how to keep it alive. The hearth becomes the true heart of the camp, spreading warmth, light, and a rare sense of safety into the shadows. Families sit close, mesmerized by the flickering glow, sensing that this trembling flame holds possibilities beyond survival. Though small and unstable, it marks the first step toward mastering the natural world. Fire is no longer a terrifying accident. It is a welcomed companion, demanding patience, protection, and constant human devotion in every passing night. As the hearth became the center of their world, firekeeping grew into a shared responsibility that bound the group together. Someone always remained awake, an elder, a mother, or a young hunter, nudging the embers, adding branches, and guarding the fragile flame through long nights. This constant vigilance created a new rhythm of cooperation, shaped by necessity more than choice. When the band moved camp, they wrapped glowing embers in leaves and carried them in wooden bowls or animal horns, determined never to lose their source of safety. Fire began transforming daily life. Cooking softened tough foods, warmth protected them from cold, and predators kept their distance. Gathered around the glow, voices strengthened, gestures evolved, and unity deepened, reshaping humanity into a truly cooperative species in ways they had never known before. Gathered in a loose semicircle around the gentle flames, early humans sat with faces glowing orange as shadows danced behind them. For the first time, they remained awake after dark, not out of fear, but driven by a rising curiosity. They mimicked the calls of nearby animals, shared memories through expressive gestures, and tapped sticks or stones to create playful rhythms. Around this fragile hearth, fire became the first stage, the first classroom, and the first silent storyteller. Rituals slowly emerged, emotions grew clearer, and imagination stretched beyond mere survival. In this warm circle of light, relationships deepened as simple gatherings transformed into the earliest sparks of human culture itself. A violent storm tears across the plains, driving wind straight into the cave and extinguishing the group's only fire. Panic spreads instantly, not just from the darkness, but from the sudden loss of the warmth, safety, and unity the flame once provided. Without it, they feel small again, exposed to the world that once ruled them. In desperation, a young hunter steps forward and offers to find a new spark. His journey becomes a harsh odyssey through charred grasslands and silent forests, searching for lightning-struck trees while avoiding predators drawn to smoke and heat. At last, deep in a distant ravine, he finds a burning branch still glowing. Lifting it high, he returns exhausted yet triumphant. The tribe celebrates wildly, knowing he has rescued more than fire. He has restored their lifeline in a world that depended on its fragile glow. At daybreak, the vast plains stretch endlessly, echoing with the deep calls of creatures far larger than anything humans could challenge alone. In this world of Homo heidelbergensis and early Homo sapiens, fire is no longer enough to guarantee survival. Mammoths tower like moving cliffs. Cave lions carry jaws built to crush bone, and giant hyenas prowl in relentless packs. Surrounded by such colossal dangers, humans are pushed beyond mere fear and into adaptation. Their minds sharpen as each day demands new strategies and greater cooperation. This shifting landscape sets the stage for a species rising not through strength, but through ingenuity and unity that would define their future path. Early humans gather in small clusters, striking stone against stone with steady, deliberate rhythm as they carve hand axes sharper and stronger than anything their ancestors ever held. Each blow sends sparks into the air, shaping edges meant to cut, scrape, and pierce with new precision. Nearby, others harden wooden spears in fire, watching the tips darken and strengthen into weapons capable of breaking through thick hides. There is pride in this work, a quiet understanding that these tools represent more than survival. They signal a rising intelligence. Soon, the tribe moves as one, using gestures and whispers to coordinate hunts, guiding herds into ravines, and timing attacks perfectly. Humanity begins planning, anticipating, and shaping outcomes rather than merely enduring them. The tribe moves in silence, tracking the great mammoth as it wanders across the open ground, unaware of the danger following behind. Dust rises beneath its massive footsteps, each one shaking the earth. The hunters spread into a wide arc, every step measured, every breath held. One wrong move could unleash disaster. When the mammoth finally senses them, it turns with a thunderous trumpet of rage. Spears cut through the air as the ground erupts into chaos. Hunters dive aside to avoid tusks as large as fallen trees scrambling over rocks and brush. Yet fear does not break them. They hold formation, striking together, trusting one another completely. In blood and struggle, humanity proves its courage and unity against a giant. The giant finally crashes to the earth, sending a trembling hush through the plains before a roar of triumph erupts from the hunters. This is more than a successful kill. It is a declaration of what humans can become. Before them lies weeks of nourishment, warm hides for clothing, sturdy bones for shelter and tools. The tribe lifts their weapons high, dancing with a pride they have never felt so deeply. For the first time, they sense the power of standing at the top of their world. In this moment, a transformation begins, from fearful prey to strategic predators. Their victory becomes a legend, shaping the courage and ambition of every generation that follows in their footsteps. Across a barren plain, a line of fading footprints stretches toward a distant horizon, each one marking a choice made in courage. Around 60 to 100,000 years ago, small bands of Homo sapiens decide to leave the cradle of Africa, stepping into lands no member of their species has ever seen. Climate shifts, shrinking resources, or perhaps pure curiosity push them forward. Behind them lie familiar rivers, valleys, and hunting grounds, places tied to generations of memory. Ahead lies only uncertainty. They carry little stone tools, glowing embers, and the stories of their ancestors. With these simple burdens, humanity begins its greatest journey, the first chapter of global exploration. As humans journey farther from Africa, the world reshapes itself around them. Some wander into the frozen north, where they learn to track reindeer across endless snow, carve shelters into icy banks, and follow herds through seasons of bitter cold. Others step into dense forests, where sunlight barely reaches the ground, gathering roots, berries, and wild honey while watching for predators hidden in the shadows. In open deserts, survival depends on navigating blistering days and freezing nights with unwavering discipline. Along their path, they encounter other hominin species, Neanderthals built for strength, Denisovans shaped by mountains. Some meetings spark conflict, while others spark families. With every new landscape, humans evolve again, proving themselves masters of adaptation. A brutal winter descends on a migrating group, turning the world into a frozen emptiness. Food grows scarce, animals disappear, and icy winds slice through their simple hides. Children cry from hunger, and even the strongest feel hope slipping away. At this breaking point, innovation becomes their only path to survival. They begin crafting tailored clothing, stitching furs with fine bone needles to trap precious warmth. Soon, they build mammoth bone shelters, solid against storms and lined with thick hides. These inventions reveal humanity's greatest strength: creativity under pressure. Instead of fleeing the cold, they learn to endure it. The winter that nearly destroyed them becomes the forge of new resilience. The climax of humanity's journey arrives as small bands step onto lands untouched by their kind. First Australia, and much later, the Americas. These crossings demand extraordinary courage, whether navigating open seas on primitive rafts or crossing frozen land bridges forged by the Ice Age. Awe mixes with apprehension as they encounter strange creatures. Giant marsupials bounding across open plains, towering ground sloths moving like boulders. Each new continent marks another evolutionary triumph, proof that humans can adapt to any environment. Their journey is no longer simple migration. It is the emergence of global humanity. Once scattered tribes from a single homeland, they now spread across continents carrying shared fire, shared memory, and the spirit of exploration. By 70 to 40,000 years ago, humanity enters a world where survival is no longer the only rhythm guiding their days. People begin to explore inner landscapes filled with dreams, fears, symbols, and fragile sparks of imagination. They string beads from shells, paint their bodies with ochre, and carve tiny animal figures from bone, acts with no practical purpose, yet rich with meaning. These creations mark the dawn of abstract thought, the first questions about existence beyond the immediate moment. Here, instinct gives way to interpretation, and imagination becomes a new tool. The human mind is awakening to its own extraordinary power. Communities now gather not only for warmth or shelter, but for something deeper: ritual. Burials become more elaborate, with flowers, pigments, and treasured tools placed beside the dead, hinting at belief in an unseen world. Early language grows, allowing stories, warnings, and myths to move between generations. Parents speak of spirits, ancestors, and lessons carved from hardship. These spoken memories bind people together, forming a shared identity. Through imagination, storms gain meaning, animals become symbols, and night grows sacred, setting the stage for symbols that outlive their makers for generations. Deep inside a shadowed cave, a child presses a small hand against the cold stone, trusting an elder who gently blows red pigment across the surface. When the dust settles, a perfect outline remains, a silent claim of existence. "I was here," it seems to whisper across ages. Soon more hands join it, along with animals and swirling patterns. These markings become early expressions of identity and memory, preserving human emotion long after seasons fade in the enduring darkness of time. Deep within the caves of Lascaux, torchlight sweeps across walls, alive with charging bison, leaping horses, and swirling symbols painted with breathtaking skill. In the flicker of flames, the images seem to move, transforming the cavern into the first theater of human history. Here, imagination reaches its climax. Color becomes language, motion becomes myth, and stories spill into the darkness. For the first time, humans project inner worlds onto stone, marking a future shaped not by survival alone, but by creativity, wonder, and unlimited possibility.